Barb, Meeble PhD, and it is January, which means it is time to look back at the previous year of gaming and see what stuck out. What were my favorite games? So for me, I've only played a handful of games that were released in 2024. So I'm going to go through my top 10 new to me games that I played during 2024. A number of them were released in 23 or 24, but there are a few older titles as well. So without further ado, let's start the countdown. My number 10 is Spots. This is a super cute press your luck dice chucking game that is just so much fun to get to the table. It's generally pretty quick, and in the game, what you are doing is you have a set of dogs in front of you, and they are missing their spots, and you're going to fill them in with dice. And what's cool about the game is that on your turn, you're going to take one of the six available actions. Well, it starts out as six available, but then when someone takes one, you flip it over, and it's not available again until later in the game, when at the beginning of your turn, if there is only one available action, everything gets flipped back up, and then you have a choice of all six. So that's really cool. And one of the ways that they add replayability to this game is that there are different sets of actions that you can take. So it's not just the base set, but as you play the game, and if you kind of get bored with one set, you can add a different set. Or there's like an insane mode where you could just stack them all up and have different actions available throughout the game. But what you're doing is you're taking this action typically in order to roll a number of dice and then place those dice on your dogs. And if you can't, you have to bury them. But if the total on the buried dice is more than seven, you bust. And what that means is that all of the dice that are on any of your dogs goes away. So the progress that you've made goes away. However, you can spend an entire turn just scoring any completed dogs. So there's a way to, score them and not worry about it, but you always want to just keep rolling dice because if you can complete all of your dogs during your turn, you immediately score them and don't have to waste a turn. For me, I was completely drawn in by the art of this game and the idea of using dice to complete the spots on your dogs. But the gameplay itself is also super fun. It's a great little filler game that we've pulled out several times with friends throughout the year, and that is Spots. My number nine is Deep Shelf. This was a Kickstarter that delivered this year where players take on um, corporations who are exploring the ocean floor. Exploring, researching, and also exploiting. You're building up little structures down on the ocean floor, exploring new spaces. Some of your structures are going to extract minerals and materials that you can then use to do research and improve your actions. One of the things I really enjoy about this game is that you have this asymmetric power so that you'll have something that you're really good at and kind of sets a little bit of the tone for your game moving forward. And other players will have different abilities that they'll be using. And so you'll each be playing a slightly different game. All of the resources that you are extracting become available to anybody who has access to that specific tile. And so there's always a danger that someone could snipe stuff from you. But that makes it a little more interesting because then you're definitely interacting with other players and kind of keeping an eye on where their network is and where you're doing your extractions. In the game, there is this dragon that's at the bottom of the ocean that you move around. We found that part not all that interesting. Maybe if we get a few more plays in and start, feeling really comfortable with the game, we'll feel like we need to add that bit of tension to the game. But for now, we kind of just push the dragon out of the way and don't worry about it. But other than that, we've really enjoyed our plays of this game. Super cool pieces, really fun exploring the ocean floor and puzzling out how to build out your network to best allow you to deliver the materials you need to do the research, make your actions better, and ultimately, of course, win the game. And that's Deep Shelf. My number eight is, I think, the only game on this list that I don't yet own because I don't think it's available yet, and that is called Guardlings. At least it's not available in the United States. This is a game that we played at the Dice Tower Retreat. It is a push your luck little bag builder game. People have likened it a little bit to Quacks of Quedlinburg, but mostly that's just because of the bag building part and the fact that you can bust if you get too many of the wrong kind of tile out of your bag during a turn. But each turn you are building up this little garden in front of you. And as you're playing out these tiles, they're kind of domino-like tiles with two sides. You have to match up different gems. And those gems become your currency for buying new pieces. And in fact, also become the way to win because if you have enough connected gems out there, you can buy the I win tile. This one we played a number of times at the Dice Tower Retreat. We went back to it actually after a second day of playing for a second day of playing it, and I am really looking forward to when this is available because I will be purchasing it and adding it to our collection as soon as I possibly can, and that is Gardlings. My number 7 is A Gentle Rain. This is a solo game where you are playing out tiles in front of you, trying to match up different flowers in order to play out these flower tokens that you have. As you're playing out the tiles, if you can match so that you have 4 tiles surrounding an open space, you can place out one of the flower tiles in that open space that matches the flowers around it. This is just a super cozy, quick playing, low pressure game that I have enjoyed taking out on nights when I just don't feel like doing much else. I want a game. I don't want to be playing on my computer. I want something tactile, um, but something quiet and low pressure. And so I have played this one a lot throughout the year, and I really enjoy this one. It's A Gentle Rain. My number 6 is Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. This is a sequel to Sleeping Gods, which came out a few years ago and I played a lot of. And this is very similar. It has a few streamlined processes, like the combat is a lot easier, but it still has that epic feel of just an open world game where you can go and explore different things, do whatever you want. You can become the people you want to be. You can, be bad and gain reputation and kind of the stuff that you need that way, or you can try and be on the side of good, trying to help people out. Um, Ultimately, you're trying to find your way home, similar to the last game, because you have been slurped here against your will, but trying to figure out how to wake the gods enough in order to get yourself home again. Whether that happens is going to ultimately depend on how you play the game, whether you get enough totems, whether you find your play, back way back to where you need to be. But it has a similar feel, just new stories, more to explore, and just so much fun to dig into. And that is Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies. My number 5 is Evacuation. This is a game where players all start on one planet, and little by little, you are moving things to a new planet. You are evacuating your initial planet because it's becoming uninhabitable and moving to a new planet. I really enjoy this game, the cadence of it. There are two modes that you can play. You can play a race game where the first person to get to certain levels of, production of materials, and they have the right things over on the new world automatically wins, or at least triggers the end game. Or you can play through 4 rounds and tally up points. I prefer the points method, although I would be happy to play this either way. One of the things I really like is that because you have 2 planets, you have to think about where your production is. If I produce something on the old world, it isn't automatically available to make something on the new world. I need to make it on the old world and then ship it to the new world. And so there's a lot of this kind of brain burny bit going on where you're like, "Oh, I can make this much, um, ore, but Oh, it's in the wrong place. How do I get it to the right place? Or how do I increase my production over there so I can make the things I need? Or do I have the right kind of ships in order to ship the things I need from one place to the other? I've really enjoyed my plays of this game, not just because it's a space game, but of course that doesn't hurt anything, and that is evacuation. My number four is Leviathan Wilds. This is a cooperative game where players take on the role of these climbers who are climbing up leviathans with the goal of breaking crystals that are forming on them. Of course, the leviathans are not aware that we are trying to help them, and the crystals aren't helping anything. So they are starting to kind of rage out as you go. So you have a clock on the game where after I think 5 or 6 times that you shuffle the leviathan deck, you'll automatically lose. But you also need to be careful because as you are doing this, you're going to lose health and you are going to be gaining blight. Some of the crystals create blight, and that's not good because if your health and your blight are the same track, and if they ever cross, you will get knocked out, and everyone else will have just one more turn to rally and try and finish the game. So that's another way to lose. What's really cool about this game is that there are a number of different characters that you can take on, and there are a number of different characteristics that you can play. So, you can mix up the abilities between the characters and the characteristics and try and tune them for the various leviathans that are available to you. And so, for one game, you might want someone who's super good at climbing because, it's a really tall leviathan and you need to get to the top as fast as possible. Or another one might have more dice than another. So, you want someone who's super strong and can just like pound away at the dice without the crystals um, without wasting a lot of time. So we've really been enjoying exploring this one. There's kind of a campaign where you go through the leviathans in order, and we're doing that right now. I'm looking forward to seeing what all of the different leviathans bring to the game. But so far, we have really enjoyed Leviathan Wilds. My number three is Daybreak. This is another cooperative game. In this one, players are trying to solve climate change. Each player takes on the role of a different world power, so the United States or China or Europe or the rest of the world. They have a board that represents the emissions that that region puts out, plus the energy that they're able to create, either clean or dirty, a mix of both. And throughout the game, you need to be working together in order to help each other reduce your emissions, make clean energy, but also kind of make sure that you aren't creating families in crisis, like making things worse for the people in your regions, because there will be different crises that come up, and that can create these families in crisis. That's one way to lose the game. Um, so you really need to work together in order to make this happen. It's been a really hard game to master for me, but that makes it kind of all the better. It feels winnable, but is hard enough that you don't win many of the games. So I have been really enjoying exploring Daybreak. My number two is Creature Caravan. This is a dice placement game where players are building up kind of a tableau in front of themselves, representing different members of a caravan that they are collecting. You have a shared board where players are moving across this landscape, going from one end, trying to end up at the city of Eastry at the end. You get more points the further you make it on the trail, but you don't have to make it all the way in order to win. This is a simultaneous play game where each round players roll their dice and then use them in their own little tableau as they please. But there are a couple of places where there is player interaction. Throughout the game, you might enter these spaces that have danger symbols on them, and you will take on an ember zombie. You have an opportunity to fight those using some of your dice. But once you do that, the number of swords that you use becomes unavailable to other players. They can do it that round, they can do it the next round, but after that, they can never use that number of swords again in order to fight their Ember zombies. So if you're using kind of the lower numbers, which are the easiest to get to, um, other players are going to want to pay attention to that as they're bringing in zombies to make sure that they can get rid of theirs if they so choose. There's a similar board that's a market board where you can do trades of gold or satchels to get more bread. Bread is the main currency in this game, and how you're going to get most of your characters into your tableau. So it becomes an important board that you want to use. But similarly, when someone trades for 3 gold, it all other players can use it that round, the next round, and then the 3 gold becomes unavailable for the rest of the game. So again, a couple of places where you're doing some player interaction, but otherwise it is a lot of multiplayer solitaire. I'm okay with that. I enjoy those types of games, and having those couple of places where you're paying attention to others kind of does bring you into the game with the others while still allowing you to kind of play your own game. But for me, this one has become a favorite very quickly, and that is Creature Caravan. And finally, my number one new to me game for 2024 is Wondrous Creatures. This is another Kickstarter that delivered this year. It is a game that is ultimately a worker placement type game where you are placing out your crew onto this grid map, well, with hexagons, not a grid. And wherever you place it, you get to take the resources that surround it. And so you have this shared board, and sometimes people are taking the places you want, but there's always something good that you can get. So on a turn, you are either placing your workers to collect those resources, or playing a card from your hand, or collecting back your workers. So at its base, it feels kind of simple. Those are the actions that you take, but you are trying to chain together, playing as many creatures as you can, and then they have different abilities. Some of them, when you play them out, you get an ability. So you might be waiting for the right moment to play that one out to get the most out of it. Or you have other ones that give you ongoing abilities. Other ones give you things when you take that rest action, when you're pulling back all of your workers, you may get something. So you're trying to get those out before you take your next rest if possible, so you can get the most out of it. I've enjoyed every play of this game that we've gotten in so far, and I cannot wait to explore it even further. That is my number one new to me game in 2024, Wondrous Creatures. So that's it. That's my list. I have had a great year in gaming. I hope you have too. I'd love to hear in the comments, what's your favorite game that was new to you in 2024? What's something that you're still getting to the table? Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so you know when my new videos come out. You can follow me on Instagram as @MeeplePhD. I have a blog at meeplephd.com, and I will see you next time.